I'm grateful to be back home, and I'll never make a mistake like this again.
3 UCLA basketball players are back home, but not back on the court. Experts say their shoplifting mistake could mean trouble for their team.
We're learning more details about the deadly shootings in Northern California and the warning signs neighbors say police should have known about.
USC is gearing up for a rivalry week with tradition, with some added security. We have more on the changes coming to Conquest.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
I apologize to my family, my coaches, my teammates, and UCLA for letting so many people down.
3 UCLA basketball players are saying sorry after their shoplifting arrest in China that turned into an international incident. Good evening, I'm Suji Nam.
And I'm Madeline Otterly. The players are back home tonight, but as Annenberg Media's Hannah Wing shows us, they won't be hitting the court anytime soon. Hannah?
That's right, Suji and Madeline. I was on the Poly Pavilion campus today at UCLA where the players and coaches publicly addressed the issue for the first time. For the first time, the UCLA players arrested in China last week spoke out about what happened. Cody Riley, Jalen Hill, and LiAngelo Ball admitted shoplifting.
I take full responsibility for the mistake I have made, shoplifting.
I'm grateful to be back home, and I'll never make a mistake like this again. I'm extremely sorry for those who I let down.
I have learned my lesson. I hope that I can earn back the love and support that our passionate fans bring to this program.
The players shoplifted from a Louis Vuitton store next to the team's hotel. This morning, President Trump tweeted, quote, "Do you think the 3 UCLA basketball players will say thank you, President Trump? They were headed for 10 years in jail." UCLA coach Steve Alford and his players commented on the president's efforts.
I would also like to thank President Trump and the United States government for the help that they provided as well.
I can't thank enough the incredible folks here at UCLA, at the Pac-12, and even President Trump and his administration for the nonstop efforts to resolve this situation.
The Bruins' home opener against Central Arkansas is tonight at 8, but fans will not see Ball, Hill, or Riley on the court anytime soon.
These 3 young men will remain suspended indefinitely from our program as we work through the review process with the university's Office of Student Conduct.
There's no timeline for when the players will be allowed to attend team workouts and meetings, but they're still allowed to attend classes. I spoke with LiAngelo's classmate.
He's more of a quiet guy, I guess, but I just not expect this from him. I just think that he just made a really rookie mistake, and it's something that he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life.
Now, this suspension is going to have a big impact on these young players' careers. I'm here with sports anchor Amy McCrae. Amy, have you talked to some experts about this?
I have. I talked with Shelley Smith and Arash Merkazi, 2 ESPN reporters who have been covering this story since it broke last week. They told me they think UCLA made the right move with the suspension, but they don't know how long it'll last.
It seems like it was the right reaction, what the school did. I was concerned because they had said so little before all of this because they didn't want to jeopardize the investigation. But they did the right thing. They suspended these players indefinitely. They will have to earn their way back, Steve Alford said, which I also think is the right thing to do because they are, after all, stupid 18-year-old kids. And everybody's had that in their life and everybody's made mistakes.
I'll be interested to see how long this indefinite suspension is. I mean, I get the feeling that they're going to come back at some point this season, you know, and when you look at that they shoplifted from 3 stores and really made some poor decisions. So, again, you know, the school has handled it properly so far. Again, I'm curious to see how long they are suspended for.
So, Amy, what do these implications mean for UCLA?
I mean, obviously, I think they would hope that at their home opener of basketball season, the attention was not on the 3 young men who were accused of shoplifting, but rather on how the team is prepared for this season and the promising season that they could have ahead of them. But I think UCLA obviously is being held in a decently negative light right now, and all they can do is try and take appropriate action.
Is this suspension enough?
I think that if they truly are suspended and they are not allowed to play, attend meetings, any practices, suit up for home games, things like that for a whole season, then it would be sufficient. But I would hate to think of the young players that are looking up to these 3 and see them make a mistake and then think that it's something acceptable that they can follow suit in. So.
I completely agree with that. Well, the UCLA basketball home opener is tonight at 8.
I'll have more on what the suspension means for the team and for the Ball family's business ahead in sports. Back to you, Madeline.
Thanks, Hannah and Amy. Switching gears now, police have found another body in Rancho Tehama after a gunman's rampage yesterday. 6 people are dead, including the gunman. Police have identified him as 44-year-old Kevin Jansen Neal. The latest victim is the shooter's wife. She was found underneath the floorboards of their home. Officials believe Neal shot her before he began his deadly drive around the neighborhood. When he eventually arrived at a local elementary school, it was already locked down, a move that police are praising for saving lives.
It is monumental that that school went on lockdown. I really truly believe that we would have had a horrific bloodbath in that school if that school hadn't taken the action when they did.
One child was shot twice through the window of his classroom. He's now being treated at UC Davis Hospital. Other students were injured by the glass shattering as bullets broke the windows. Neighbors had complained about Neal in the past, saying he had been firing off guns excessively in his yard. Police say Neal had a history with the law as well. He had been out on bail for stabbing a neighbor earlier this year. The guns he used yesterday were not registered, which means he got them illegally. There's still no clear motive for yesterday's attack.
He just never had good coping skills, and he had just this tendency to fly off on these uncontrollable rages, and it just could have been anything in that situation.
7 separate locations are being treated as crime scenes as authorities continue to investigate.
Women and men from many different industries have been coming forward with their stories of sexual harassment.
Now, members of Congress are also speaking out. Our political anchor, Tanvi Varma, is here to tell us more about how 2 congresswomen are trying to address the problem on Capitol Hill.
That's right, Madeline and Suji. 2 female lawmakers just introduced bipartisan legislation that aims to prevent sexual harassment in Congress and make it easier for victims to report incidents. Representative Jackie Speer and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand introduced the bill. It calls for mandatory sexual harassment awareness training for all Capitol Hill employees. It also eliminates required counseling and a waiting period for people who want to file a formal complaint and allows for anonymous filings.
I've heard from survivors that they have been personally, professionally, emotionally, and financially destroyed by the current process. Meanwhile, the harassers go on with his or her life, oftentimes to prey on others.
Members of Congress, staffers, and interns would all receive the same protections under the proposed bill. Also on the Hill, 6 Democratic congressmen have called for the impeachment of President Donald Trump. Democratic Representative Stephen Cohen of Tennessee introduced 5 counts of impeachment this morning.
We have taken this action because of great concern for our country and our Constitution, our national security, and our democracy. We believe that President Trump has violated the Constitution, and we've introduced 5 articles of impeachment.
The Democrats claim Trump has violated the Constitution by firing FBI Director James Comey, continuing to profit from his businesses, and undermining freedom of press. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders responded by saying Democrats are wasting their time. In a statement this morning, Sanders said Democrats' time would be better spent focusing on tax relief for American families and businesses. This is the 3rd impeachment effort this year. Democrats would need a majority vote on at least one of the articles for the motion of impeachment to go forward. Suji, back to you.
All right, well, thanks, Tommy. Now, students and organizers gathered outside Felicitas and Gonzalo Mendez High School in Boyle Heights today. Protesters voiced their concerns about the Trump administration and the threat to the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA. They hope to inspire others to stand up against current policies. Erica Jimenez shared what prompted students to take action.
We want to drive the Trump and Pence regime out of power, okay? And we think that we could do so if people came out to the streets and marched in big mass numbers and protested, and that's what we did. We're not going to be waiting on our politicians to actually come out and do something. We're doing this in the name of humanity.
Organizers said about 50 students participated in the walkouts, and they're planning another protest this Saturday at Pershing Square.
We have breaking news now. A metro train and a car have collided on the Expo line at 30th and Flower, causing 20 minutes of delays. No injuries were immediately reported. Some downtown-bound trains are turning back at the Expo Vermont station. No word yet on when regular service will be restored. We have a crew on the way, and we'll bring you more information as soon as we get it. And in more breaking news stories tonight, there's a car accident on the Row near 28th and Hoover, right in front of the AE Pie House. Our reporters on the scene tell us 2 cars were involved. No word yet on whether anyone was injured.
Now, thousands of students are expected at this year's Conquest, but as reporter Andrea Friedman found out, many don't know about all the changes to the security.
Trojan statues are duct taped, and Bruin banter is fresh in the air as students get ready for the SC-UCLA football game this weekend. USC's concert committee is preparing for tomorrow's Conquest. This year, there will be ID scanners at all 5 entrances to avoid overcrowding.
We also have one guest entrance this year, so we have a tighter control of students bringing guests in instead of the multiple guest entrances that we had before.
In addition to DPS, there will be a private security company and LAPD officers on campus. After crowds got a little bit too rowdy at last year's Spring Fest, this year the university is met with heightened security requirements. So students, if you plan to attend, keep an eye out for those. This year, Conquest is implementing the Coliseum bag rule, which says all bags must be clear plastic or vinyl and no bigger than 12 inches. Small purses can be no larger than your hand. No outside drinks or containers holding liquid of any kind are permitted.
I feel pretty good about the heightened security measures, just because also USC is in South Central LA, so I like always feeling safe.
I think it's important that we crack down on security because I've heard so much about Spring Fest and how that got shut down instantaneously. So I wouldn't want anything like that to happen again because I'd love to see whoever it is that's performing.
Concert committee members say the headliner this year is expected to draw big crowds and attendees should arrive early. A full list of prohibited items and safety rules can be found on the committee's Facebook page. For Annenberg Media, I'm Andrea Friedman.
USG has a new pilot program to tackle some of the hassle out of periods. They tell us where you can find free tampons at USC.
And Metro is adding new amenities for cyclists, keeping bikes off of buses, and students get a special discount.
And street vendors are protesting at LAPD as the city council considers making their work legal.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listened.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Back to one of our breaking stories. We just got video into our newsroom of that car accident happening on the Row. 2 cars were involved. It's near 28th and Hoover in front of the AE Pie House. No word yet on whether anyone was injured.
Well, in other news, downtown is stepping up its bike game. Annenberg Media's Margie Fang takes us to the opening of a new bike hub.
3, 2, 1. Oh, crash twice. There we go.
Today is the grand opening for Metro's new bike hub at Union Station. This is Metro's 3rd bike hub. The $2.5 million bicycle hub will offer bike racks and lockers to hold almost 200 bikes.
This is going to be a social meeting place for the cycling community of Los Angeles, I think, in a very significant way.
Metro's other 2 bike hubs are at Almonte Transit Center and Hollywood Vine Metro Red Line Station. In addition to bike storage, a key feature of the hub is real-time information for buses and trains arriving and departing the station. This makes it easier for cyclists to commute.
don't need to bring your bike on the bus. You leave it here, and when you get back at the end of the day, you grab your bike and you continue on your journey.
Surveillance cameras and security patrol provide cyclists with a feeling of security.
I can stay late at night if there's an activity or a dance or something that's happening around here without me worrying about somebody stealing my bicycle or, stealing any part of it, just putting it in here and then forgetting about it.
And they have locks in there, and they have little commuter bikes, those little folding bikes in there. I mean, they have a lot of different types of ways to travel.
Mechanics will be on site to repair bikes, and the store will offer accessories. The Bike Hub now is offering a free month pass, and there's a special offer for students as well. For Annenberg Media, I'm Margie Feng.
Sidewalk vendors protested outside the LAPD Rampart police station this afternoon. Vendors spoke out against laws that prevent them from selling on the sidewalk. Many in the community showed up to support them.
Most vendors that usually set up on the sidewalk have not been allowed to set up, have been displaced by the police, or have been ticketed. And it's very difficult for folks, especially reaching the holidays, to not be able to work. A lot of them depend on their sales as their main source of income.
Protesters say police officers are not allowing them to set up on sidewalks, and they say they're just trying to earn a living while serving residents and tourists. The City Council voted earlier this year to decriminalize sidewalk street vending. That means vendors can no longer face criminal charges, but could still receive fines and citations for not having a license. Some council members are now working to legalize street vending.
Maddie, it's been hot then cold and hot then cold. I'm just so confused at this point.
I am so confused about the weather. Let's toss it to our weather anchor, Erica Lee, for more on this.
Thanks, Madeline. The weather has been pretty bipolar lately. Let's take a look at the current conditions. Right now, it is 68 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. Let's take a look at the mountains up in the Big Bear. Big Bear is cooling down at 57 degrees, but in Palm Springs, it's 84. Taking it back down to the coast in Malibu, it's 70 degrees, nice and cool. Taking it back home to USC, it is nice and hot at around the mid-70s. Looking forward to our 5-day forecast, it is going to be a little bit colder on Friday, but it's going to heat right back up in time for the UCLA game. Which region has the worst air pollution in all of the nation? Southern California does. Smog has gotten worse for the second year straight despite a decline in emissions.
All right, thanks, Erica, for that report.
Thank you so much. And we're going to be following up on our breaking news from earlier this evening. We have more on that car accident coming up. We're going to toss it to our reporter in the field, Mary Page, for more.
Well, it's definitely a busy time in sports with the USC-UCLA game coming up.
I'm so excited to see us beat UCLA.
So what's coming up in sports, Amy? Well, all
away.
3 of the UCLA men's basketball players who were arrested for shoplifting are back on U.S. soil and have to deal with some of the repercussions of their actions. And speaking of UCLA, the USC Trojans will be taking on the Bruins in a huge rivalry game on Saturday at the Coliseum. Sports are next.
You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
As we discussed at the top of the newscast, LiAngelo Ball, Cody Riley, and Jalen Hill have apologized for shoplifting in China, and UCLA has suspended them indefinitely. ESPN reporters Shelley Smith and Arash Markazi spoke to me earlier about the length of the suspension and what this incident means to the Big Baller brand.
I think the Big Baller brand took a serious hit because now one of your dynasty kids is, you know, I know charges were dropped, but he still shoplifted in China. Not a good idea. I think it's going to take a hit, but LeVar Ball is very smart and he's very marketing savvy. He'll find some way to turn this into a positive for his family, I'm sure.
I'll be interested to see how long this indefinite suspension is. I mean, I get the feeling that they're going to come back at some point this season, you know, and when you look at that they shoplifted from 3 stores and really made some poor decisions. So, again, you know, the school has handled it properly so far. Again, I'm curious to see how long they are suspended for.
UCLA team has started their season, but they do not start conference play until December. And one of the best college football rivalries plays in the Coliseum this weekend. The number 11 Trojans take on the UCLA Bruins at 5 p.m. on Saturday.
It's an offense that produces 333 passing yards a game. It's an elite level passing game. It'd be a great challenge to our defense to produce a 10-win regular season. It's only been done 16 times in the history of this university over 125 years. So it would really be a statement to our seniors to really put an exclamation point on a regular season going into the Pac-12 championship game. We've always taken the approach here, playoff football, 1-0 each week, and that's the way we're doing it this week again.
A lot of competitive dudes, really fast, athletic, and good scheme.
The Trojans have won 46 of the matchups, with the Bruins winning 31. 7 games have ended in a tie. Last year, the Trojans beat the Bruins 36-14. At practice, head coach Clay Helton spoke about the importance and the intensity of this rivalry.
We love this one because it's so unique because we live in the same town. Really, when you think about the rivals around the country, they're miles and miles apart. Here we live right across the street from each other. I just think there's an ultra level of respect between both universities because of how highly ranked academically they are, the tradition of excellence in their athletic tradition. It's just really special, and it's one of those things when you do win and you get to have that good feeling for a year, and when you don't, it's an awful gut-wrenching feeling for a year.
The game is being played at the Coliseum this Saturday with kickoff at 5 p.m. Our correspondent Chloe Chrissy-Koppel is headed out to talk to football's sports dietitian to learn how she keeps the team healthy. Chloe?
Thanks, Amy. I caught up with my old rowing dietitian, Andrea, who now works with the football team, to learn how the players have to feel to perform on the field.
How do you work with football? Do you have a specific meal plan for each athlete, or does it go by position?
It varies. Every athlete is individual, so as much as I try to group them into like their position group and I can break down their calories in that area, it's very individualized in food preferences and allergies and all those different things.
Do you have specific foods that you recommend or don't recommend, or are they allowed to eat anything?
I definitely have foods that I recommend and don't recommend, but I don't say you can't, there's nothing that you can't have. Like, I want them to not look at foods as negative, as positive things.
What sort of foods are provided at breakfast or dinner?
Their breakfast is an all-inclusive, pretty much whatever you want to eat at breakfast. I've tried to be more creative with what we have up there. We have almost everything.
If an athlete is injured, does that mean that he has his meal plan modified?
Yes, so it depends on each athlete, but if they're like super inflamed, typically an injury you're going to come with inflammation, so we kind of put them in a high inflammation group and we kind of gear their meals and their foods around that, and I educate them on eating more unsaturated fats.
The number of injuries has decreased this week, so shout out to Andrea for helping the boys stay healthy. Back to you, Amy.
Thanks, Chloe. And back to you guys. Looking forward to an exciting game, but catch us up on the rest of this news.
Thanks,
so much.
Amy. Well,
heading home for Thanksgiving, Lyft has a special deal to help you get to the airport.
We'll show you how to get half ride on your ride next, and also more breaking news coming right up. Stay with us.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be?
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck.
So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Back to one of our breaking news stories we've been following tonight. A metro train and a car have collided on the Expo line at 30th and Flower, causing 20-minute delays. No injuries immediately reported. Some downtown-bound trains turning back at the Expo Vermont station. No word yet on when that's going to be returned. We're going to toss it to our reporter on the ground. Mary Page is there. Mary Page, what's the latest?
Get ready.
Ready. Thanks, Maddie. We are at the scene of a metro crash on the corner of 28th and Flower. The crash happened about an hour ago, and we actually have one of the passengers from the train, William Pfeiffer. William, thanks for talking to us today. Can you describe what it was like to be on the train during the crash?
All I know is I heard a big crash and then turned around and heard the grinding of metal across, being pushed/dragged across other metal.
And how long were you guys stuck in the train?
About 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
And did anybody talk to you over the loudspeakers?
The driver spoke twice over the loudspeaker telling us that we were in a car accident with whoever was at the time.
And about how long did it take for you to get off the train?
Took us about 10 minutes just to get us backed up to the next station down over by Jefferson, and then a couple minutes off once we got there.
All right, well, thank you, William. And we have been told that there are no injuries. They've actually cleared the car off the track, so the metro should be running smoothly again soon, but they couldn't tell us exactly when. So that's about all the information we have right now. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Mary Page. Well, Thanksgiving break is just a week away. Students flying home can get some treats. Now, if you see here, USC Transportation and Lyft are giving students a discount on rides between campus and LAX next week. The first 5,000 people to use a discount code will get half off their Lyft fare, but it's only valid for one trip.
Thanks so much for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone here at Annenberg Media, I'm Madeline Otterly.
And I'm Suji. You can watch us on the web at annenbergmedia.com. Have a great night.